Hi there, welcome to the Schwowin's Nest. My name is Sandra, and I'm so happy you're here. This first flip is using this old cheese grater. I found it at the thrift store for $1.99. It has some rust on it and it is pretty old already, but I wanted to make it even older looking. I'm taking a regular kitchen sponge and I just cut a piece off of it and then trimmed around all of the sharp edges so I don't get any lines on my stamping when I'm doing it. I'm going to go ahead and just pounce up and down, and it's getting the texture like it's been out in the weather for a really long time, kind of a little bit dark in some spots and dirty, and then it still has a little bit of shine. And once I'm done doing this all the way around, then I'm going to switch over to some burnt umber paint and just do that with the same sponge in a few different spots to give it more of a rusty look. With the burnt umber, I'm just kind of putting it in a few areas, mostly around the corners, on the bottom of it. And here on this one where the slices are, I'm going to go a little bit more heavy just in those areas because that's where they would be used more often and that's where the wear would come. So I'm assuming that that's probably where it would rust first. I found a set of 6 of these plates from the thrift store, and they were $5.99 for all 6. The wood is a little bit lighter than I would have liked, so I'm just taking this rough brush and dry brushing some black chalk paint on it just to give it a deeper look. The bottom of these plates are already black, and they were from Pottery Barn, which is really exciting because we don't have Pottery Barn here in Canada. Anyway, I did look these up online. So for those of you thinking that they're worth something, a set of 4 would be about $20. So I don't think there's really a whole lot of money to be made with these. So I'm just going to keep them and create different designs for decor with them. I wanted to make this more of a riser, so I had these blocks from the Dollar Tree that I had stained in a different project. No longer needed that project. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these on the bottom of the plate, and those will be little riser feet for my lantern. I love how this lantern turned out. I think it's really rustic and fun. And I think there's a lot of things you can do with different vintage items like this. So when you're at the thrift store, keep a lookout. Just with a little bit of paint and a little bit of tweaking, you can have a really pretty decor piece for your home. Some of you may have noticed recently that I've been wearing a bracelet on my right hand. It is a magnetic bracelet, and I love the design of it. It is so pretty. It's really comfortable, and this particular style is self-adjustable. So it has these little pull tabs and it just adjusts to have it as tight or as loose as you want it to be. Now, of course, with magnetic bracelets, you definitely want them touching your skin because that's where the healing properties come from. The company Rainso reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try one of their magnetic bracelets. And because I suffer a lot from arthritis, especially in my hands, I said absolutely, I would give it a try. So now that I've been wearing it for about a week, I do find that I don't get so irritated. My skin feels better because the arthritis is probably not as inflamed as it normally would be. Magnetic therapy is based on the theory that when delivered directly to the body, the magnetic fields can stimulate healing from a range of health problems. Both men and women can wear magnetic bracelets to relieve pain, reduce inflammation, and improve circulation. Magnets have been used for their healing properties since ancient times. Chinese medical practitioners were regularly using magnets as far back as 200 BC. If you would like to try the healing properties of magnetic jewelry, click the link down in my description box for a $10 off code on your first purchase. Candlesticks are one decor piece that never go out of style. Sometimes the colors change, but there's always candlesticks in decor. I found this set. Now, I think they're a set. They came as a set of two, but they are a little bit different. I think these were hand turned, probably by a student maybe in high school in carpentry class. They're really fun. One is really smooth and one is really rough. So they are going to take the paint a little bit differently. I have some of my white chalk paint and a whole bunch of water in this dish, and I wanted to give them a whitewashed effect. I really like how this turned out. I think it's something that I might use a little bit more often, especially on raw wood, because it soaks in really nicely and still shows the wood grain. And you don't have to have any special ingredients for making a whitewash. It's literally just paint and water. With this technique, you're also not limited to the color. You can take any color of paint and add some water and it will become a stain. Of course, with white, you call it whitewash, but with a color like burnt umber, you would call it a stain. You could do gray, black, blue, green, whatever color your heart desires. Just add some water and that will become a stain and you'll have a beautiful piece to decorate in your home. So with these candlesticks, I did want to have something at the top to make them look even more like candlesticks. I have four of these little wooden discs that I got from my local Dollarama store. I believe they're about 4 inches wide. What I'm going to do is take four of them because they are fairly thin, and using my Weld Bond glue and some clamps, I'm going to glue them together so they make one chunky piece. Now, Dollar Tree does carry some of these chunky wood rounds, but I have not been able to find any lately at my store, so I just grabbed the next best thing. If you can't find any of these types of wood rounds at dollar stores, you can definitely find some at Michael's. I think I've paid maybe $1.99 a piece, which isn't that bad of a price. But you can also just use a jigsaw and cut out your own piece with some scrap wood. Now, I didn't want to take the time to do that because I never get my circles perfectly round when I use my jigsaw. So I opted for this option. So here's a perfect example of watering down a different color of paint to create a stain. I wanted to stain these sort of like a dark walnut color. So using my burnt umber, and in this bottle, I just had a little bit of paint left. So I just added the water to the bottle and you can see the wood grain is coming right through. It soaks right in. There's no need for any wax or any stickiness with other types of stains. And this turned out really good. I did the sides as well, just to kind of blend in the colors. I also did the bottom portion, and then when they were completely dry, I used my drill and I screwed them right into the candlesticks. Wood goes with wood really well, and I wanted them to be nice and sturdy. And I think these turned out really great for probably only about $6. Thank you to all of my subscribers for watching and supporting the growth of my channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you are new to my channel and you like what you see, I would love it if you could hit that red button too. If you watched my last thrift haul, you saw this basket. It's really sturdy and super thick, but that bright green color, that's gonna have to go. I gave it a few coats of white spray paint and it looks already so much better. I ran out of spray paint, so I wasn't able to paint the inside, so I'm just going to give it a couple of coats with my white chalk paint. It's not going to cover completely, but that's okay. I'm going to be filling this basket with stuff, so you'll never really see the inside anyway. So when you're at thrift stores, don't pass up the baskets that have these bright colors. There's nothing that a can of spray paint can't fix. I wanted to add some type of label or decoration to the front of the basket, so I decided to use one of the coasters that you can get from a coaster set from the Dollar Tree. I painted the outside of it white, you can see it drying there. And now I'm cutting out a piece of scrapbook paper that I'm going to glue on top of the coaster. I traced the coaster on the piece of paper, but I'm cutting it out about 1/4 of an inch smaller so you'll be able to see a little bit of the white on the outside of the coaster. I wanted to give this little sign a couple of layers, so that's why I traced out the original circle, and now I'm cutting it again 1/4 of an inch smaller so you can see all of the different types of paper plus the wood. I'm just going to use a glue stick to layer everything together. I forgot that before I glued everything together, I took a regular black Sharpie marker and wrote the words hand picked in the center of the little circle. Then I used the same Sharpie marker and I put fresh flowers on the top and the bottom in a rounded manner. Then I also used a skinny fine point black marker to just draw an outline, sort of a shadow line on the letters. And then I added some little dots to look like stitching. Once it was all assembled, I used some hot glue to attach the coaster to the front of the basket, and then I styled it with some faux flowers and a few vintage garden utensils. I think this will be a perfect basket for me to go out into my garden when summer arrives and pick some blossoms that I can display in my home. I love finding white ironstone like this at the thrift stores, but unfortunately, this one had a lot of dings and scratches on it that I didn't look at when I first purchased it. So it is going to need a coat of paint to get it fixed up. So what I did with my Cricut Joy is I took some of the Dollar Tree black vinyl and I cut out a bee and laurel design. And what I'm going to do with this is use it as somewhat of a stencil. I'm going to apply it to either side of the teapot, and then I'm going to use some black spray paint to spray paint it and then pull up the vinyl to reveal the image. Now, I'm going to be testing this with you. I've not used the Dollar Tree vinyl for this process before, so we'll see how it turns out. I'm going to just use my fingers to press down the decal once I move the transfer tape off of it, just because sometimes when I use the burnishing tool, it will occasionally get caught on the vinyl and then it will just pull it off, especially with this more inexpensive vinyl that you get from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use Rust-Oleum 2 times Ultra Cover paint and primer in one in flat black. But before I do that, I need to cover off where I don't want it to get sprayed. I'm going to leave the lid white, so I'm just using some painter's tape and I put it all around the edge. And now I'm just using my craft knife just to pick off any of the little bits and pieces that are still there that I just need to even out. So even though I used painter's tape to tape around the edges I didn't want painted, I did get a little bit of bleed through. So I'm just using a cotton swab and 100% acetone, and I'm very gently going to just rub off the areas that I don't want. With the acetone, it's really easy to get this off. I take it off my fingers as well whenever I get spray paint on my hands or stain on my hands. I just use the acetone and it cleans it up really nicely. So now let's reveal that little piece of vinyl and take it off and see how it looks. I am using my little Cricut weeding tool to help me get the vinyl off, but it's looking pretty good. Now this side, I didn't get a lot of bleed through at all, but on the other side, I did get quite a bit of bleed through. Probably didn't press it down as much as I should have, so I will be taking the Q-tip and just very gently cleaning that portion off as well. I am really happy with how this project turned out, and I think it looks absolutely amazing. I did give it a couple of coats of clear matte spray from Rust-Oleum just to seal in the paint and make sure that it doesn't chip. For my final project today, I'm using this yellow glass Sundae cup. This was something that I picked up a few years ago, thinking that I might be able to resell some stuff on eBay. That didn't work out, so it's getting a makeover. I'm using again one of the other little wood coasters that you can get from the Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 4. And I'm going to glue it on the bottom because there's only a small little lip on the bottom of this Sundae cup, and I need to have a little bit more transfer or surface, I should say, to get this onto the charger plate that I'm going to be gluing it onto. So I'm just going to glue it on here, make sure that it's nicely centered, again using my Weld Bond glue, and I'll set it aside to dry completely. This is a charger plate that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. It's black on the bottom. I think they're all black on the bottom. I decided to paint it gray because it's one of the grayish wood grain ones on the front. And I'm going to be leaving a circle in the center without any paint because that's where I'm going to be gluing my Sundae cup onto, and I want to make sure that it's going to stick really well. So 1 coat of this medium gray paint will be enough. So with the Sundae cup, it's dry now. The coaster is pretty well set onto the Sundae cup. And what I'm doing now is just painting it with that same medium gray paint. I thought it would look really well once it was all completed, but I did end up changing my mind once I had the Sundae cup glued to the charger plate. I didn't like the gray. They were kind of 2 different tones of gray and they clashed. So I ended up painting it black. So here's the Weld Bond glue again. I'm making sure I get it right out to the edge, and then I'm going to just kind of spread it around with the nozzle and make sure that it's really nice and smoothed out. And then I'll be able to place it right in the center of the bottom of the charger plate and let that set up. I hope you liked my thrift flips today and got some inspiration to go thrifting yourself to find some home decor that you can upcycle. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. That helps me get noticed more on YouTube and helps my channel grow. If you haven't yet subscribed, I would love it if you could click that subscription button. The black arrow will show you exactly where to click. Don't forget to click that notification bell too and select all so you're always notified whenever I upload something new. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.